Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ned Bellavance, Ned1313 on Twitter, and welcome to the Daily Check-In for December 2nd, 2020. It is Wednesday, which means it's Tech Analysis Wednesday, and let me turn my sign on because we are in business. Let's do a little tech analysis. We are going to be talking about AWS reinvent. I know there's a metric ton of announcements coming out of AWS right now because that's what they do at reinvent. But there is one thing I wanted to focus on, and that's the way that they have so clearly embraced hybrid in a way that I feel like they haven't ever done before, and to a certain degree embraced other clouds. I know that sounds bizarre and bonkers, but that's what I want to talk about today, is this sort of shift that I see happening, and I haven't seen anyone necessarily commenting on it. So I do want to pull on that thread a little bit and maybe make some comparisons to what Microsoft Azure has been doing and Google Anthos, though I don't know that space as well. So we can kind of focus on Azure and AWS since they are the big cloud giants right now. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you, if you are watching this video and you prefer podcasts for your audio listening enjoyment, this is also available as a podcast. You can find it on anchor.fm. Just search for Ned in the Cloud and you'll find it. Or if you go on your podcatcher of choice, search Ned in the Cloud, you'll probably find it there as well. I should be on all of the platforms at this point. So just want to put that out there. If you prefer this in an audio format, especially for videos like this that I'm just talking, there's not going to be any flashy graphics or fun demos. Maybe a podcast is right for you. I don't know. Think about it. Anyway, let's check in. How you doing? How's it going? It's Wednesday. So if you're watching this, and I know it's the end of the day for me, so it's got to be the end of the day for you probably. Congratulations, you made it. You made it through Wednesday. You are past halfway through the weekend, well on your way to the weekend. I know I've said it before, but that's one of the things I like about Wednesday because it's all downhill from here. And today was a good day for me. Yesterday was a little rough. Didn't go my way. A lot of technical problems. You're just banging your head on a wall and then you go bang your head on a wall about something else. Let me tell you, Python is my nemesis. I do not like it. And it's really not its fault. It's my fault for probably not reading all the directions properly. But there were some struggles yesterday. Today's a much better day. Everything just kind of worked. And I guess that's sometimes what happens, right? So let's talk about AWS and reinvent and what I saw. So I didn't watch the entire 3-hour keynote from Andy Jassy because I ain't got that kind of time. Even on 1.5 speed, I just, no. You gotta move a little bit faster. I'm very impressed that he has the stamina to deliver a good 3-hour keynote. And by all accounts it was, but 3 hours is too long for me to sit and watch somebody talk. I can't do it. That's why I make my videos 10 to 15 minutes, because I understand that sitting and watching someone talk, even if they're an engaging speaker, even if they're really good, is probably just too long. So with that said, I didn't watch the entire thing. I did watch some clips of it, and then I delved through some blog posts and kind of sifted through all the announcements that were included in the keynote yesterday. And he announced about 20 new services or improvements on existing services. That's a lot to sift through. But a few things did kind of stick out to me. And the number one thing that stuck out to me is AWS is embracing the hybrid cloud like never before. They are really just going all in on this. Why do I say that? What were some of the announcements to back up this theory? Well, let's talk about them. First, last year, they announced that they were going to open local zones, and they opened 3 in Los Angeles. And apparently those did pretty well, or maybe they just opened 1 in Los Angeles. I'm not sure exactly how the local zone counting works. Are 3 of them in the same city, 1 local zone? I don't know. They opened a local zone in Los Angeles, and they are going to have 3 more cities opening this year, and they want to open 12 next year of these local zones. What's the point of these things? Well, it's really that move to the edge. So it's not absolutely at the edge. It's not running on premises or within a car or something like that, but it's sub-millisecond latency is what you're looking for in these, or single-digit millisecond latency to this local zone. But it's still an AWS zone and it still offers some of the same services, and it's a managed solution. And they're partnering, obviously, with some data center providers in these areas to provide this solution to you. But it's really cool. And I'm assuming it's probably using like Outposts under the hood. But basically, they're expanding that out. They see that there's enough demand to make more of them, basically. So that's one signal that, okay, we need to extend ourselves further out. Not everything's coming to us. So we've got to move out closer to them. We're going to start doing that through local zones. But wait, there's more. Outposts, which is their on-premises managed solution, used to only be available in a full rack. You had to get a full rack of Outposts, 48U, boom, or 40U plus some power supplies and stuff. You had to buy, like, that was the minimum. That's a big commitment. Not a lot of people are going to have that problem, but Amazon took the approach of the people who want this thing are going to be willing to pay for it. We need something that satisfies what they need. It's a full rack. It's just what we're going to do. And now they're announcing they're going to come out with a 1U and a 2U form factor for Outposts. So you're basically either getting a 1U server or a 2U server that is loaded up with NVMe storage. It's running the Outpost software. It's managed through the AWS portal, but it can run EC2. It can run maybe RDS, I think was in there. VPC was definitely in there. Lambda, I think was in there. So it can run a bunch of the AWS services all locally on that box, and you can put it wherever you need it. This is 1U. You can put this in a telco closet. You can put this in something that's mobile as long as it has good cell service to the AWS console so that it can report back. This thing is now very portable. So they first moved the goalpost to, local zones. So we're getting closer to the client. And then they moved it even closer with Outposts, but still need to be in a big data center that could accommodate a whole rack. And now they're moving even closer to things because it's a 1U server. That's pretty tiny. And I know they have the Snowball family as well, and that's more for like disconnected scenarios. But here we are, again, just embracing hybrid and edge type scenarios. So that's a few things. And then there were some other announcements that I thought were really interesting. The first one is Amazon EKS Anywhere. So this is their elastic Kubernetes service, but it can run quote unquote anywhere, which really means you provide the hardware for this service to run and install it, and then you can manage it through the AWS console. Now, I don't know at what level it's being managed here. Are they going to take care of patching for you, or are they just going to monitor it? Can you use AWS as the control plane, like the portal as the control plane to configure, or can you back up to, the cloud? Can you back up to US East 1 if you want from this thing? Details are pretty sparse because the thing's not out yet, but it will be available. So that complements this other idea that they had of running RDS on VMware. Does anybody remember that? I don't know if that ever took off. I don't think it did. But this is more like, hey, you want Kubernetes, but you want to run an Amazon version of Kubernetes and manage it through the portal? Amazon EKS Anywhere. There you go. We're meeting you wherever you are. And they're also offering Amazon ECS Anywhere. So if you want to use their container service orchestrator instead of Kubernetes, you can do that as well. So now you don't have to rent the hardware from them. You can provide your own hardware and put AWS bits on it and just manage it from there. Again, extending that hybrid. We're taking things that we've learned from cloud and we're extending them to on-prem as opposed to moving things that are on-prem up to the cloud. That's kind of interesting. And then the last one, that announcement that was weird to me, is they are making the EKS distro, the Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service distribution, publicly available and open source. That's kind of a big deal. So even if you don't want to manage your Kubernetes infrastructure using AWS, you can run the same distro on your local hardware or in another cloud that you are also running in AWS. That gives you a certain level of consistency. It gives their preferred approach for that Kubernetes distribution, and you get regular updates from them. It's going to be about one release cadence behind what's running on AWS. And they said this, and I've never heard them say this before. Maybe I've just missed it in other things, but they say you can create EKS distro clusters in AWS on Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2, in other clouds, and your on-premises hardware. I don't think I've ever seen them acknowledge the existence of other clouds. And here they're saying, take our distribution and go run it on Azure. Go run it on GCP. That's fine by us. The thing is just bizarre, but it's not that bizarre. And here's where I want to make the comparison to what Microsoft has been doing for the last few years as well. They have their Azure Stack Hub. Well, they have their Azure Stack line, and that's made of a bunch of different things. You have Azure Stack Hub, which is basically like Outposts, but the big difference there is Microsoft chose to ship the control plane with the data plane. So you don't use the Azure portal to manage Azure Stack Hub. Azure Stack Hub runs its own portal, which means that you need a lot of headroom just for that portal. If you have say a 4-node cluster, one of those nodes is entirely dedicated to the portal and nothing else, basically, in terms of capacity. It's pretty big. So Outpost is able to shrink down to one server because you're not running the portal on that one server. You're using the portal that's running up in one of the AWS regions. The version of that in Microsoft land is Azure Databox Edge, which is something that you can manage with what they're calling Azure Arc, which is their management platform for hybrid and on-premises. So now you can do that. There's also Azure Stack HCI, which has become its own operating system and sort of a bring your own hardware, but it has to be validated hardware. And I'm imagining that this EKS Anywhere thing is also going to need to be on some kind of validated or vetted hardware for them to give any kind of service guarantees. But if you do that with Azure Stack HCI, you can manage it through Azure Arc. So again, you're managing it up from the cloud and you're just running your virtual machines and containers on that service. So again, Microsoft and Amazon are doing very similar things, and it just seems like they're both really embracing hybrid cloud, which is just an acknowledgement finally that not everything is going to go to the cloud. It's probably only ever going to be 50% of workloads running in the cloud, which means if you love your data center, it's probably not going anywhere, but it may change, it may shift. The way that you operate your on-prem data center is going to change, and that's because the practices of cloud are coming down and landing in our data centers. So that's my thought. That's what stood out to me with reinvent. I'm curious what stood out to you. If you want to leave some comments, what stood out to you so far in the reinvent? It's going on for 3 weeks, so you got plenty of time to catch up. Or hit me up on Twitter and to start a conversation. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. That does it for me for today. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe out there. Bye for now.